Chic.Classy.Spicy family. I hope and pray that you are doing exceedingly well today. Well, I am stopping in today because I wanted to share a few tips with you that have helped me to get back on track to keeping my New Year's resolutions. Well, I don't really call them that. They're actually called promises to myself. And I call them promises to myself because breaking a promise is like, you don't do that. If I do not keep the promises to myself, that is a huge thing for me. It makes me more accountable to myself, and it makes me dig deeper to make sure that I reach those promises to myself each year. There are 5 tips that I'm going to share with you, so let's get started. The first tip is forgive yourself and don't beat yourself up. A couple of weeks ago, actually probably about 3-4 weeks ago, I got sick with the flu. I've had the flu many times, but I have never been so sick and could not get myself together. This time I was sick literally for 2 weeks. I couldn't get rid of the fever. I eventually went to the doctor and found out that the flu had also turned into a sinus infection. During that time, I couldn't work on either of my businesses, and I got so far behind. Not only could I do my work for my businesses, but I wasn't able to keep my promises to myself. And one of the biggest ones was to spend more time in the presence of the Lord, to build a more intimate relationship with God. And I've also started on getting back into exercising and getting fit and toned. It all went out the window. When I finally got well, I had to do some digging. I was very frustrated because there was so much to do. I could have beat myself up, but what good would it have done? I would have still been in the same situation. I needed to figure out a plan of action so that if life happened again, how I would be able to get back in gear and get moving. So I didn't beat myself up. I forgave myself, and actually there was really nothing to forgive myself about. But a lot of times we do things that we know we shouldn't do that kind of jam us up on reaching our goals. For instance, if your goal is to lose weight or change your eating habits or stop smoking, things like that where you can actually eat something, drink something, whatever it might be where you can make it worse for yourself, then of course you may have a reason where you want to forgive yourself or be hard on yourself. In those instances, just remember that we're not perfect. We're gonna have some slip ups, some mess ups, some mix ups. When we recognize it, that's the first step. So forgive yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Think about how to restart and move forward on your plan. And that brings me to point number 2. Point number 2 is hit the reset button and focus on the process, not the end result. If you hit the reset button, you've done yourself a wonderful, wonderful favor. You're still keeping the New Year's resolution or promise to yourself, but you're still telling yourself that you are worth it when you hit that reset button. I realized that hitting the reset button actually made me more determined than ever to figure out ways I could get ahead of the curve in both of the businesses, ways that I could spend time in God's presence that didn't always require me to be holding my Bible or writing in a journal or anything. I already listened to Dr. Charles Stanley and other ministers, and of course go to church and take my notebook and so forth, but I needed to find other ways where I could still build that intimate relationship with God and not feel that I had to be tied to a desk or a chair, and give myself a little bit of leeway on those times when I'm not able to be fully engaged the way I'd like to be. Hit the reset button and then focus on the process. And what I mean by that is it's a big goal. Break it down into some bite-sized goals that you can meet. For instance, I wanted to make certain that every time I got up in the morning, I was spending time in the presence of the Lord. Well, what happens if I'm exhausted because I work really, really late and I'm exhausted when I wake up? Well, guess what? While I'm showering, I can actually listen to the daily devotion or the message and getting ready. I'm still in the presence of the Lord. Would I like to be more focused? Absolutely. But I realized if I could just break it down, it would be much easier for me to get what I need. So if you have a different goal, break it down into some small bite-sized pieces and focus on those. And when we really think about it, the more we focus on those small goals, it's really moving us closer to the end result. So we will get there and we'll start to see it getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're getting to that place of keeping those resolutions or promises to ourselves. The third tip is be optimistic but realistic. I am so excited about my promises to myself, and I only shared one with you, or maybe two. The other promise to myself was to do more things in both of my businesses, to be more productive, to be more profitable, and to spend more time networking. Well, I have to realize I have two businesses. I have a life. There's only 24 hours in a day. So I had to be realistic about how much time I would really be able to network, how much time I would be able to spend in each of the businesses on a daily basis. But I also needed to be optimistic about everything that I was doing, because if I wasn't optimistic about it, guess what? If I have a slip up, I'm not going to be able to hit that reset button because I'm not optimistic about it. In that process, I had to really think through what would work, because it's just only 24 hours in a day, and I don't want to spend all of that time focusing on work. So yes, be optimistic but realistic. The fourth tip is check your passion meter about your resolutions, your goals, or your promises to yourself. If you're not passionate, really passionate about reaching those goals, you're gonna slack off. You're not gonna put the work in. You're gonna be back at that juncture again where you messed up, you slipped up, and now you gotta figure out how to get back on task. Passion has a lot to do with whether or not you will be successful in reaching those goals. So check that passion meter every so often. And if you realize that your passion meter for that goal is low, you're gonna have to readjust your thinking and make some changes so that you can reach the goals that you're truly passionate about, or come up with a totally different goal. And the last tip is get an accountability partner. My best friend is my accountability partner, and he is absolutely awesome. I will get a phone call, an email, or text. He's gonna ask me, how did it go? If I slipped up, he's gonna say, so what can you do better? What will you do differently tomorrow? And he is gonna call me to task. I don't want to shortchange myself, but I also don't want to shortchange him. So having him as my accountability partner has given me so much more reason to stay focused on my promises to myself. So if you don't have an accountability partner, I encourage you to get one, but make sure it is a person who is very disciplined, who has the time to invest in helping you reach your goals. Because if they're not invested in you reaching your goals, what good is having an accountability partner if they're not going to be there to tell you the good, bad, and the ugly, and also to help light a fire up under your buns when you're slipping? So those are my 5 tips for getting back on track to meet your promises to yourself or New Year's resolutions for 2017 and beyond. I hope that you found some of the tips to be helpful, and if so, share your comments below. I'd love to hear what was beneficial to you. Also, if you've got some tips to share that have worked for you, please share them. We never know who is looking for a tip. Something that you may say may bless someone else, and that is truly a blessing. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, I need to understand what in the ham and brown Jennings are you waiting on? Hit the subscribe button right there and join the Chic, Classy, Spicy family. And don't forget to sign up for notifications so you'll know when we upload videos. Our current subscribers, thank you. Also, if you're not following us on our other social media platforms, you are truly missing out. Our handle is very easy. It's at Chic.Classy.Spicy. We're on Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, and Facebook. So I look forward to having you there. Your support is greatly appreciated. As always, keep it chic, classy, spicy. Until next time, be blessed.